What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the second album by Birdman. Basically, this project came out in the summer of 2005 and it's called Fast Money. Now, basically, this project came on the heels of Lil Wayne's The Carter 1, which came out in the summer of 2004. This is kind of one of the last projects that has Manny Fresh on like Cash Money Productions for a good while. He kind of departed Cash Money somewhere in 2005. So this is the last little bit of his productions on here. So this has like a nice bastion of that original Cash Money sound as recent as 2005. But this also has like a series of Lil Wayne highlights on here. Some of these songs that Lil Wayne are on make them feel like they're his songs. But then the pairing of Lil Wayne and Birdman has always been good. But, you know, in terms of typical critique of Birdman, it kind of feels like when he doesn't have Lil Wayne or another feature on there like Drake or someone with high power on there to really help out, it seems like sometimes Birdman songs get somewhat sabotaged. But I do see the strength in some of these songs. I do definitely feel like there are some gems in here. I know that this album, I know there's some gems in here, and I do kind of feel like it is kind of hardcore rap. And once you get past the singles, which these are kind of off to the side songs, so these are not like, I mean, minus like Neck of the Woods and maybe Get Your Shine On, I kind of feel like some of the songs on here are kind of more of like a hardcore rap kind of taste. Where Birdman, in terms of commercial rap, what probably most people thought of him was he was like Lil Wayne's wingman and that type stuff. Definite like the one that was riding shotgun to Lil Wayne and that type of stuff. I just would have to look after it. This album does have a lot to offer. It has some great beats on here, and Birdman can stand on his own despite the fact that it's just kind of in a more hardcore sense. I mean, there's not really any songs that kind of showcase Birdman to the point where he could get his commercial shine, but then he's kind of the more CEO of the Cash Money label, so he didn't really need to be like an all-out, decked-out lyricist and that type of stuff. That was what Lil Wayne was for. But he does have some hit songs. I do kind of look after it in that sense. So I'll begin to describe some of these so you can see some of the highlights that are Lil Wayne free and just stuff like that. There are some gems on here that prove that Birdman is worthwhile, despite the fact that a lot of folks, it seemed like they were here for the Lil Wayne moments and that type of stuff. But there is some good gems on here, and that, you know, Birdman's pretty skilled at what he does. So that's just kind of the thing. So there were 3 singles off this project. The first single is Neck of the Woods. And this is kind of like a real dark and shrill kind of club highlight for Birdman. Lil Wayne drops the first verse, and he drops 2 verses on this song. This is just an overall excellent one to kind of have. Classic vintage Cash Money kind of tune. Definitely a vintage Southern hip-hop, Dirty South kind of gem. Probably one of the best beats on a rap song in the 2000s. This is a definite highlight, and this is overall one of Birdman's overall best songs. And I just feel like the context behind it, Lil Wayne does the hook, and this is like another taste of Lil Wayne that's after the Carter, which means that he was on his Carter lyricism that he had in the mid-2000s, but it's not quite the Carter 2 yet either. So it's kind of like the Carter 1.5, where Lil Wayne was still a pretty stellar lyricist in early 2005 before the Carter 2, but he transformed again in late 2005 when he started pumping out songs like Fireman. But this is definitely a highlight from Lil Wayne from the after the Carter 1 days. I definitely think there needed to be more songs from Lil Wayne, because it didn't seem like an overabundance of folks were getting him on features in late 2004, early 2005. But I do like this song. It's a definite highlight. Birdman and Lil Wayne do real good here. This really feels like a haunted forest kind of tune. This is a real kind of shrill and just overall engaging and kind of like a stark and morose kind of way of like a club song. Birdman doesn't have an overabundance of club songs on here, and you'll find on this album that there's a lot of summer, lazy kind of summer, this no clouds in the sky kind of lazy day type stuff, but this is definitely a night highlight and a nice club song. Get Your Shine On is the second single, and this is just kind of an easy breezy kind of summer bop here. This is just a simplistic one, has a Manny Fresh beat on here. This is the sort of stuff that they've been doing since like the 90s and stuff. Definite, just kind of typical Birdman, Manny Fresh, Lil Wayne type bop on here. Lil Wayne really does a great job on here, and this is another one that just feels like it was ripped off the Carter 1 or something. This is just a simple gem and probably a very distinct and just overall like noteworthy Birdman song. This is definitely one out of the 2000s where Birdman kind of got his catalog up with this project. And I really feel like his first album from 2002 was mostly just known for What Happened to That Boy, but it did have like some other gems on there. But Birdman really fleshed out like his hit potential, and really he could probably fill out a greatest hits album if he tried hard enough. And I think that that's kind of the concept. I mean, given some of these songs have Lil Wayne on there, and he really they're just a great combination and have chemistry and stuff. But it really did it did efficiently chalk up Birdman's catalog quite quickly, and that's just kind of the concept. It just so this is an easy highlight. We Got That as the third single, and this is a nice one. This doesn't have Lil Wayne on here, but this is an easy kind of highlight for Birdman. And the thing to notice about Birdman is he's a pretty staunch hustler. He definitely has like that hustler mentality to a T, and a lot of these songs have to do with just the sole factor of getting money and getting it quickly and that type of stuff. So that's kind of the concept of some of these, or he just has like that clockwork hustler kind of mentality. But this song, in terms of the production, is just a hazy kind of nightclub song. This one and Get Your Shine On are both nightclub kind of songs. But the thing about it is there's just not an overabundance of these on the album. Like Birdman really preferred like the day commute and kind of errand running and just lazy kind of hot summer day kind of tunes. That's what most of this album is about. More songs like Get Your Shine On and that type of stuff. But at least We Got That and Neck of the Woods are both two highlights, but this one does not have Lil Wayne on there, but this is a good example of Birdman being able to do it. This song does have an extra cat on there named Six Shot, so he's kind of an extra fellow, but I still feel like this is probably one where it's kind of a torn bag. It's kind of a mixed bag as to who's going to really relay this song as far as having affinity for it. I feel like some folks, depending upon how into rap and what their stance kind of is, they may like this song. I mean, I know that the Lil Wayne songs are kind of easy highlights, but this is kind of one where I feel like it might drift some folks' attention. I kind of question whether or not it would, just because it's kind of, I mean, Birdman tends to get flack, so it's just kind of underneath the concept that Birdman without Lil Wayne just takes more of a learning curve more so than it does. But this is an easy going song. This is definitely one to look into if you're looking, if you know about Birdman, but you're only used to like the Lil Wayne with the version of Birdman with Lil Wayne. This is a good one to start with. I would also recommend some songs on 5 Star Stunna and some of that type of stuff. We'll get to those albums later, but this is kind of the thing. So this is an easy highlight. This has a pretty recitable chorus, and it's just an overall kind of breezy, hazy kind of nightclub gem. So out of 16 songs, basically there's 17 songs on here, but one's an intro, and there's 17 songs on here and one's an intro, which is kind of mundane and just doesn't really stack up to the quality. So I would count that, but since it's not really much of a song, I'll just say that there's 16. But out of 16 songs, I wound up recommending to you 11. So these are 11 songs I recommend. So they would be Get Your Shine On, Neck of the Woods, We Got That, Get It All Together, We Getting It On, Shoveling Snow, Big Pimpin', Solid Chick, Ghetto Life, Pressure's On, and Out the Ghetto. So, talk about some of these ones. Like some of the immediate highlights are, of course, the other songs with Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne's on here 4 times. So the other 2 songs, like I feel like Shoveling Snow, which also has Currency and Mac Main on here. This one's a real good example of like Shoveling Snow with Lil Wayne and Currency and Mac Main on there is just a get money kind of tune. It's definitely a scheming kind of song. It's a hustle song and a day commute kind of song. This really kind of has that pretty emphasized like going about it and getting money. Like you'll find that there are more songs like this on here where Birdman's hustler mentality really shines through, but this is just kind of day commute. It's not really so much like Birdman kind of has a concern about getting the money before having the recreation, and as a result there's a number of songs on here that are just kind of where you don't have all the laces tied up yet. It's kind of in the process of getting ready to finish off. Like it's not at the beginning of the day when the work just started, but it's just kind of like the last few hours or moments or even minutes to say, hey, you know, the work's almost done for the day. It's getting ready to be time to party. But there are some songs like that. Like I feel like Shoveling Snow is like that. Shoveling Snow, Pressure's On, and Big Pimpin' are just a few examples of some tunes that kind of have that hustler mentality of just kind of tying up loose ends and getting ready to go out and get crunk and that type stuff. Big Pimpin' is just kind of a lazy summer tune, but it's just kind of underneath the impression that most of the tasks are roped up for the day, and this is about like the last little bit. That's kind of the concept. It's the same thing with shoveling snow, but this one's just kind of a lazy, kind of really hot weather kind of tune. Another hustle song that kind of has some grit to it is Ghetto Life. This is an example of like a commute song. This is just a regular kind of hot day, very similar to Big Pimpin'. And I would also say Shovel and Snow. These are just examples of some day ones. I know I said that there were a few, but there's actually more than that. So it's just kind of the concept about it. This one has Bun B and Six Shot on here. So this one kind of fills it out. So Birdman's not necessarily weak lyrics, but this kind of typical lyrics are just, coded with some things. It's a nice touch to kind of get Bun B on here. I like the concept that he fits this song pretty well. There's definite aspect as far as doing that. Pressure's On is an example of an evening song. This is definitely one where you're getting ready to go out for the night and just the night's getting ready to get started, but it's just the last few moments of getting ready to do stuff before that happens. And Pressure's On kind of has like a real kind of hazy, kind of evening bass kind of piano beat on there. It's just a nice one for doing that. Big Pimpin' just has some light guitar licks in the summer taste, and Ghetto Life just kind of has like a real sprawling kind of. That one's a little bit difficult to describe the beat, but that's a nice one. And then Shovel and Snow is just kind of a pretty pacey kind of song. I do like the tempo of Shovel and Snow. We Getting It On is a Big Timers Still Fly redo. It's got new lyrics, but it just basically alphabetizes a bunch of women that the Big Timers have kind of hooked up with. It's the same lyrics in the chorus. It has that same kind of feel that it did in 2002. It's basically like the 2005 edition of Still Fly. It's a nice club song, just a very blurry kind of summer fun kind of tune. It's just easy kind of summer nights and that type stuff. It's probably the closest thing to a club song apart from Neck of the Woods and We Got That. So that's just one of the few other ones I would say in that sort of sense. This kind of a lazy evening bop, this kind of blurry. Get It All Together was basically almost the fourth single. It's kind of like that song that they tack on to the end of a music video. That's kind of like the next one that they would promote if they were going to. Like T.I. has done this sort of thing, and Jeezy did this sort of thing on Thug Motivation 101. But this has Lil Wayne on here, and this one is a pretty good highlight. This one's a pretty high octane kind of energy. It just has like a real sprawling kind of synthy vibe about it. Really feels like in the crest of summer, but this is kind of like a late day kind of evening hustle songs. There's just a bunch of these kind of hustle songs on here. This is just an example of one that is kind of where you're just getting things laced up. Very similar to Pressure's On. Very similar to Get It All Together is a late day kind of hustle song. And I think it's very similar to Shoveling Snow and Pressure's On. So there's a good handful of these on here. These are just really kind of high octane. Like I do like the energy on Get It All Together, but it's just kind of the concept that it is a little bit hardcore. Like I feel like Neck of the Woods and Get Your Shine On just had a little bit more commercial flair, but the fact that it has Lil Wayne on here helps boost the appeal of it. So that's just kind of the concept as far as that kind of goes. An example of a song that's like another lazy kind of summer day type tune that's just really kind of mellow but works great for the ladies is Solid Chick. This one is just like a bass song just for like summer days, summer nights, that type of stuff. Just really lazy in the production, just has an overall kind of emphasized feel about it. But it just works as like that sort of stuff that Tupac would do with like a song like Run the Streets or something like that. It's that same type of template for a song. I do like the concept of it. Yeah, another highlight is Out the Ghetto. So this song, Out the Ghetto, is the most popular song that Spotify said that most people played. It has 5 million plays compared to the other two singles, which would be Neck of the Woods and Get Your Shine On, only having 3 million. So it's surprising that a random song like Out the Ghetto, which is just kind of an album cut, was the most popular song. But this one is basically another commute song, or this one's another lazy summer jam kind of tune. This one's just very carefree, just really just immersed in summer and that type of stuff. I feel like it's very similar to We Getting It On, Solid Chick, Big Pimpin', and some of those type ones. There's just a lot of this album is pretty carefree, but it does it in kind of like a hustler mentality about it. So that's what you'll find is Birdman has like a dichotomy of being like a clockwork hustler that wants to get money, but it's just kind of a carefree mentality about doing it, where you work hard, play harder kind of aspect, but the work is still kind of surrept and cataloged on this album. So it just doesn't have an overabundance of dance club and nightclub cuts. It has like one or two, maybe three at most. But for the most part, it's just kind of the concept of either you have like two or three, maybe an hour or two left of getting work done and then getting ready to go out and party, or it's just kind of you can just take it as day commute, like you just got off work, something like that. And you're just ready to go relax, something of that sort. So it's just kind of the concept. It's interesting, kind of get these blue collar kind of midday commute kind of tunes from Birdman when it just was not commercial and pop radio and that type of stuff. So it's just kind of a rap makeshift album, as is a hardcore rap makeshift album, which is pretty dope just because Birdman wasn't someone who worked at like Lowe's or worked at Home Depot or something like that. So this is kind of the concept to be able to do that. But talk about some of the songs I didn't like there were 5 songs. Like the worst beat on this album was probably Hug the Block, that just really had an ugly composition just overall. And My Territory wasn't much better. Those are 2 clumsy ones, and it's too bad that they're at the very beginning of the album because they just don't showcase the album real well. Cash Money Nigga is an example. I mean, I did like the chorus. Whoever did that chorus, I think it's Lil Carl that did the chorus on Cash Money Nigga, but it just didn't have interesting enough production. It was just kind of a sprawling one that just kind of had some awkward kind of showcase of energy that just was an oddball overall. And I didn't like the composition of Around the World. That one was kind of like a more like traverse kind of tune, more of like something with intended travels, but I didn't quite feel the glitz of that song. It was just kind of probably trying to be like if you do hustle around the globe and that type of stuff and you're more international, it's kind of like a tune for that, but it just didn't really have as much compellingness about it. And then probably another pretty poor song on here was just Smoke Out, which was trying to be a smoke song, had a good hook, just similar to the cat that did Out the Ghetto and Cash Money Nigga and some of those, but it just was a terrible smoking song. It just did not really get me wanting to smoke. It was just kind of awkward energy, a little bit energized in ways that was just kind of awkward for a smoke session as to how that should have went. So I just didn't really find that song convincing as far as like smoking and wanting to blaze one and that type of stuff. But so me liking 11 songs out of 16, I'm going to go ahead and give this album like an 8.25 out of 10. I feel like that's pretty solid. This is definitely well above average. And, you know, if folks think that Birdman doesn't hold a candle to Lil Wayne, or if Lil Wayne's the only interesting thing about Birdman, there are some ones on here that prove otherwise. And just some ones that I would feel that way would definitely be the 3rd single, We Got That. That's a terrific one to try for a Lil Wayne free Birdman song. I feel like Big Pimpin' has some quality energy. Ghetto Life is a nice one. And then if there's really that many people that like the song Out the Ghetto, like Spotify says, I'd say that that's another highlight too. So there are some gems on here to really say that. Just this Birdman kind of has like a niche for himself with some of these lazy summer day type tunes. And he really took the water with being able to get some highlights for himself apart from just the Lil Wayne songs. Like I feel like these midday makeshift rap commute kind of hustle songs are really clever and powerful for Birdman. And some of these don't have Lil Wayne on there, and they work pretty damn well. So it just kind of happens. And then, of course, you've got 4 songs with Lil Wayne. So that's a fourth of the album. So there's just some overall great moments. The social score, I'll probably give the social score like a 7 because this works for like a summer tune, and it does have some good stuff. But like I do feel like Birdman has somewhat of a learning curve apart from Lil Wayne. So this is a convincement of how many folks want to fuck with them, just in terms of whether or not they like his lackadaisical lyrics or not. And there's just not an overabundance of high quality guests to really back him up apart from Lil Wayne and the one feature from Bun B. Currency and Mac Main show up on here once. So there's just not very many folks. Manny Fresh is kind of barely on this album. You could tell that he was kind of getting ready to leave and stuff, but that's just kind of the thing. So I give it a 7 just because of the learning curve and just the edge that kind of has happened. But there is some stuff on here. It's just kind of more of a hunt, but just listen to some of the stuff I said in this review and you'll be fine. In terms of the future, like Birdman's been pretty quiet. I mean, he dropped an album with NBA Youngboy back in 2021. I do still kind of wish he would have dropped the Bigger Than Life album, but he has dropped like mixtapes and stuff, and he has been active somewhat, but he just kind of does more collaboration albums. But this is definitely some stellar stuff here.